myself. My name is Minnie Kim, the Deputy Director of KIEP Delhi office, and I will host today's workshop. And firstly, I would like to express my deep gratitude for you to take time out of your busy schedules to attend our workshop today. To contribute to strengthening Korea and South Asia countries' relations, the Korea Institute for International Economic Policy, it's also known as KIEP, we decided to open its third overseas office in India last year. In this regard, today's workshop is hosted by KIEP Delhi office to share knowledges and information and opinions on exploring economic situations and business opportunities in South Asia. It's also about the strengthening economic ties with Korea for common interest and potential future. So we are quite confident this workshop will provide valuable insights and foster meaningful connection. Dr. Choongjae Cho, Director of the KIEP Delhi office. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Cho with great applause.
Thank you. First, I would like to express my gratitude to all of you who attend 2024 the Visiting Scholar Workshop hosted by KIEP Delhi office today. I'm very welcoming and thanking all of you come from the India, as well as from the Korea to participate in the Korea Industry Expo. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the panelists who came from online or the offline from Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. Thank you again. KIEP, KIEP, National Research Institute that studies the world economy, currently operates 3 overseas offices. The first and second are the Washington, D.C. in United States and the Beijing in China. And the third is India office, Delhi. For Korea and the Kiev India is already G3. Today, we will specially cover the major countries of South Asia, excluding India. In fact, all the Southern Asian countries except India have not been doing well economically until recently. The political and the social stability has also weakened currently. However, even excluding India, the only 4 countries such as Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, they have 460 million populations. South Asia is the most populous region in the world. According to one of the survey, the number of the consumers spending more than $12 a day in just 2 countries, Bangladesh and Pakistan, is expected to reach about 200 million by 2030. The IMF slightly reduced its forecast for the next year's global economic growth rate in October. In this situation, Donald Trump has become confirmed as the next US president. The world is at greater risk falling into a tariff war due to the tariff bomb from the US. It feels like a big wave is crashing into the Korean economy, which is highly dependent on trade, especially the export. It's more important than ever to develop emerging markets. Today, KIEP Delhi office is to look at the economic trends and explore business opportunities of the South Asians. In Delhi, India, the only China plus 1 country. I would like to thank everyone who attend today's, and I hope you will have a fruitful time through following the presentations and discussions and Q&A. Thank you all again. Thank you.
Now we are ready to begin our session titled Change of Economic and Business Opportunities in South Asia. So in this session, we will be privileged to hear from distinguished scholars representing Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. They will provide valuable insights into respective countries' economic landscapes and emerging trends and evolving business opportunities. This session aims to promote a deeper understanding of the region's dynamics and foster avenues for future collaboration between Korea and South Asian region. So without further delay, let us commence with the first presentation. So firstly, we have Dr. Bamadev Sigdel, Senior Researcher at the Center for Policy Studies and Rural Development from Nepal, who is joining us online. So Dr. Sigdel will present on change of economic and business opportunities in Nepal. So ladies and gentlemen, please let's extend a warm virtual applause to the Dr. Sigdel.
Namaste, good afternoon from Kathmandu. Nice to meet you. And in such an august gathering, in the KIEP's second visiting scholar workshop, I'm very happy to be here, and it is my pleasure to be in such august gathering in second workshop of KIEP. Would like to thank Dr. Cho, Dr. Kim, and Ms. Apurvo and other colleagues of KIEP India in India. And I would like to be in touch. I am happy to be with Dr. Junaid of Pakistan, Dr. Kabir of Bangladesh, and Dr. Wijesinghe of IPS. And it is my great pleasure to be here. And I was in Sejongsi, Korea during COVID. It was a terrible time and better time too, And probably COVID, the KIEP's 30th anniversary, probably, I guess. And I would like to present my paper entitled Change of Economic and Business Opportunity in South Asia, special reference to Nepal. Thank you. Just a moment. Well, South Asia occupies an important place in the world economy. By 2040, South Asia is projected to account 50% of global GDP and 40% of global consumption. Hence, it has an influential role in shaping the global economic trends. South Asia's economic witnessed growth rate of 6.6% in 2023 and expected to grow by 6.4% in 2024. And India has the leading position in the region with estimated growth of 8% in 2024, followed by Bangladesh 6% and Bhutan probably 4.6%, 3%. The region possesses significant human capital because of high growth of professional managers, scientists, and administrators. Poverty reduction in the region, along with the growth of professional, has contributed to the growth of middle class, and due to the growth of middle class, there is the venue of business opportunity, and there is the prospect of foreign direct investment in the region. Growing middle class and consequently a large market is a stimulating factor for the investment and production. South Asia prospect for investment and business activity. South Asia consists of countries with a diverse economic structure combined with unequalness in some aspect. Each country has specific characteristics and potential for development. South Asia presents a paradox with potential for the high growth with low economic achievements. The potential are abundant of natural resources, I mean hydropower that is abundant in Nepal, 44,000 megawatt potential capacity, fertile soil in the South Asian region, and rich type of biodiversity, high potential for tourism development, cultural. We have a rich cultural and religious diversity, birthplace of Lord Buddha, that is in Nepal, and even though Buddha enlightened in India, biodiversity and adventurous to prospect of advantageous tourism, a large reservoir of labor force with high demographic dividend. South Asia, conductive investment environment. The region has a conductive investment environment, lower transaction cost, investment friendly tax regime, concessions and facilities, economic liberalization and privatization that was adopted by all South Asian nations has paved the way for the private sector growth since 1980s. Conductive investment environment and low transaction cost, friendly tax regime, concessions and facilities, economic liberalization and strategy of private sector growth, and is in intra-regional and international trade because of free trade agreement with ASEAN in 2010 and South Asian Free Trade Agreement SAFTA in 2006. This has paved the way for the expansion of trade and investment. South Asia has the tremendous potential for the FDI. In 2023, South Asia received FDI amounting US dollar 36.0 billion. India and Bangladesh have succeeded to host the major chunk of floated FDI in South Asia. The major indicator of South Asian, it is self-explanatory one. I want to spell on it. And India's position in South Asia. India occupies important position in South Asian region in terms of various aspects such as geographical size, largest, population highest, size of GDP highest, growth rate 8.2 highest, infrastructure development, expansion of railway network, highways and airways as well developed, and human capital development, abundant human capital. Per capita GDP of India is 2,485. Poverty and the lowest poverty rate in the South Asian region, that is 10.2%, moderate. So India has a crucial role in South Asia. Without India, we can't imagine of South Asia. India has a crucial role in Asia, South Asia. India shares a line and maritime borders with all countries in South Asian region. India's economic infrastructure and human resource development and advancement in IT place it among the leading nations in the world. It is the emerging as a global superpower and fast moving towards signing India as a strong and influential neighbor. The strategy of signing India should also spread some signing rays in the neighboring countries. India should shoulder the responsibility of promoting growth and stability in the region, addressing the challenges and adopting asymmetrical policies and programs. There is a dire need to be balanced leadership and hegemony for enabling neighboring countries to catch up with it. India's unilateral initiative may not be sufficient. For this, and neighboring countries need to respond positively. Without neighboring countries, cooperation, economic, social, and other sound tie-up, and India could not foster its economy. It is because India is a direly needed resource, the energy, power, like that, That's why India should have a good relation with other South Asian countries, neighboring countries. And some major feature of South Asian countries, and it is a self-explanatory one. I want to spell on it. No, skip. Bangladesh, Pakistan, Bhutan, Sri Lanka. And let me mention on economy of Nepal and business environment. Economy of Nepal. Yes, Nepal has historically been among the poorest country in the world, and its per capita is 1324 at present. Poverty level is slightly more than that of India, that is 18.2%. GDP growth rate is very disappointing, 1.9%, and expected to grow by 2 or 3% for the next year. Nepal initiated economic liberalization from the mid-1980s, including privatization of public enterprises. The contribution of primary sector to GDP has been declining, whereas contribution of service sector has boomed. That means service sector contribution to GDP, our GDP is more than 50%, and the agriculture and allied sector contribution to GDP is 20 plus percent, and the rest goes to the secondary sector, hardly 5 to 10%. Since the last few decades, remittance has become an important source of foreign exchange earnings for Nepal. The migrant labor are mainly in Gulf country and Malaysia, and between 8 to 2024, some 104,000 Nepalese youth worked in South Korea under EPS program. Nepal is facing growing financial resource gap, which is partially met through foreign aid and other assistance and tourism sectors earning, and debt as percentage of GDP has an increasing trend. You can see the table 2, and real GDP growth 2022 5.3%, 23 2.3%, and 24 estimated 3.5%. Inflation hovering around 6 to 5% something in average, and net foreign investment is 0.1% of GDP. Revenue 19%, 19.3%. Debt GDP percentile is 42.9%. Fiscal balance minus 5.8%. Nepal's economic environment for investment and business opportunity. Nepal is a land of opportunity with rich natural resources, water, herbs, etc., growing youth population, strategic location between fast-growing economies, that is India and China, and access to a large market of 2.5 billion people. Nepal has significantly improved its status in doing business. It is ranked 94th in the world and 3rd in South Asia, and it was borrowed from Easing Doing Business Report 2020. Foreign investors are allowed. Let me spell on some bylaws of investment. Foreign investors are allowed 100% ownership of a company in some sectors. Repatriation of capital and profit are allowed by the law. Minimum threshold for foreign investment is NPR 20 million. Earlier it was 50 million. It has been reduced. Line ownership is allowed in company's name. Easy business visa. Provision for proposed investor. Double taxation avoidance agreement DTAA signed with Australia, Bangladesh, India, China, South Korea, Mauritius, Norway, Pakistan, Qatar, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. Nepal has signed bilateral investment promotion and protection agreement BIPA with India, Finland, Germany, Mauritius, UK, and France. General income tax of 25%. Value added tax is around 13%. Tax concession of 50% in income of foreign country from export of goods and services, software programming, cloud computing, and IT-based service, who are supposed to be invest in India. They are provided such facilities. 100% tax exemption for 15 years and 50% tax exemption for 6 years for reservoir-based hydro, for those who intend to invest in reservoir type of hydropower project with the capacity of more than 40 megawatt. Custom excise duty and VAT has been levied on raw material and auxiliary material of export-oriented industry is reimbursed on the basis of amount of export within 60 days of application. Major potential. Well, the investor entrepreneur, the foreign investor, foreign entrepreneur, they could invest in potential major sectors for investment in Nepal, which are hydropower, economically feasible 43,000 megawatt in Nepal. Hydropower followed by tourism, health sector, agro enterprise, ICT, education, finance, mining, etc. Nepal's more than 75% of foreign trade has been confined with India, that is 64.1%, and China to just 12.7%, and rest on percentile is with other countries of the world. In 2022-23, Nepal's total trade with India and China stood at 1134.5 billion and rupees 224.4 billion respectively. Trade with other countries stood at rupees 49.8 billion. Nepal experiences growing trade deficit. FDI inflow in Nepal is very small, very low. Between 2018-23, average amount of FDI inflow was just 0.11 billion. Nepal has received FDI from more than 50 countries, with including India and China being the first and second topmost investor country for Nepal. South Korea's FDI stock. When we talk of South Korea's Nepal-South Korea relation, investment relation, South Korea's FDI stock in Nepal was NRS 13.8 billion in 2023. This is NRB's data, Nepal Rashtra Bank data, Central Bank data. This accounted for 4% of the total FDI in Nepal. A large chunk of FDI, 59.7%, is accounted by industrial sector, and the rest on by service sector in Nepalese economy. Where Nepal is, we can see from doing business score. India has a good score, rank 63, while Bhutan has also good score, 89. Bangladesh has 168, not so good. Sri Lanka has good score, 99. Nepal has comparatively fairly score, 94. Maldives 147, Afghanistan 173, Pakistan 108. And when we talk of Korea, it rank, highest good score, that is 5. Well, South Korea is engaged in South Asia through trade, aid, and investment activities since long time back. The link between South Asian countries and Republic of Korea can be traced back to 526 CE, when Korean monk Gyamik came to India to learn Sanskrit. Buddhism is a major cultural factor integrating South Asia and Republic of Korea, Korean Peninsula. Socio-cultural deepening between South Asia and South Korea further intensified with the visit of people, exchange of goods, talents, art, artifacts, etc. South Korea has prioritized the new Southern Policy NSP marks an attempt to signal South Korea's growing diplomatic and economic engagement beyond its immediate neighborhood and its historically prioritized region geography. The NSP is based on 3 pillars: peace, prosperity, and people. Under Asia-Pacific trade agreement regime, South Korea is engaged in expanding its trading activity with developing and emerging economies. The current member of APTA are India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Laos, China, Mongolia, and Korea. South Korea's ODA figure attained a highest of $3,115 million in 2022. In 21, it was 2,883 million. The major beneficiary of South Korea's ODA in Asia are Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Nepal, and other African countries. South Korea's ODA focuses on poverty reduction, environment preservation, infrastructural expansion, and support for attaining SDGs goal by the recipient countries. South Korea exported various products worth $632.2 billion in 2023. The major export destinations of South Korea in Asia, 58%, and North Korea, 28% in 23rd. The major export destination countries are China, USA, Vietnam, Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, and India. In 2023, South Korea's export to India stood at 17.9 billion, which is 2.8% of its total export of South Korea. Diplomatic relations between Nepal and South Korea was established on May 15th, 1974, and South Korea's assistance through KIEP has supported Nepal's planned development efforts. Major beneficiary sector of South Korea's assistance are water management, sanitation, education, energy, and rural development. By 2020, around $56.3 million worth of projects were launched in Nepal via KIEP. Nepal-South Korea trade began to take shape after 1990s only. Nepal import more than 70 items from Korea, while its export is less than 25 items in Korean market. Nepal's export to Korea stood at $302.2 million, and import from Korea is $7043 million. With the trade gap of $6741.4 million in 2003, Nepal's major export items to South Korea are coffee, tea, spice, wine, rum, wood, print, wool, carpet, jewelry, handicrafts, goods, etc. Nepal's major import items from Korea are frozen fish, green tea, paper, sausages, animal fat, juice, soy sauce, cement, wine, perfume, toys, camera, mobile, car, plastic goods, electrical goods, etc. Of the total number of foreign investment projects as of 2023, South Korea is the third position with 386 projects in Nepal. The first position is occupied by China with 2490 projects, followed by India 852 project, and Japan 283 project. Department of Industry of Nepal. Korean joint venture enterprise. Well, let me spell way forward. And lastly, South Asian countries are on the path of economic prosperity, gradually becoming potential region for commercial and investment activity. South Asia offers a huge market for consumers as well as investment goods. The potential areas of joint venture investment in South Asian countries are assembly industry, agro-processing, tourism-based service industries, pharmaceuticals and chemical industries, renewable energy initiative, cement, ceramics industry, etc. Nepal has high potential for investment in energy sector, followed by tourism, agro-processing, pharmaceutical. Korean joint venture investment in this sector would significantly contribute to boost Nepal's growth and poverty reduction. South Korea can be an important development partner in this regard. Barriers and constraints associated with joint venture investment could be sorted out through mutual interactions between two governments, and governments of each country and private sector of South Asia. These are all about my presentation. And during the inaugural session, the director, Dr. Cho, he already hinted us that there are some risks for the investment, and we are happy to be 250 Korean company, they have an expo in the near future, and I wish their success, the expo's success. Thank you very much. Nice to meet you. Thanks for listening. Bye. Namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Sigdel, for your informative presentation on Nepal's economic landscape. So our next speaker is Dr. Junaid Ahmed, Senior Research Economist at the Pakistan Institute of Development Economics, who is also joining us online as well. Dr. Ahmed will share his perspective on change of economic and business opportunities in Pakistan. So ladies and gentlemen, please give Dr. Ahmed a big hand.
Thank you so much, and good day to all distinguished guests and researcher. I first like to thank Director KIEP Delhi, Dr. Cho, and KIEP organizers for giving me this opportunity to discuss the Pakistan economic outlook and strategic opportunities. And we can focus the regional economies like the South Asian economies, why they are not more connecting despite they are large economies, and also what opportunity we have with the South Korea. So today the discourse is on Pakistan economic challenges. Currently, we have what opportunities we have for cooperation and how we can create a shared growth agenda between the regional economy, South Asia, and the South Korean countries. Now, it's stuck. Just okay. So I structure my presentations. First, I will discuss about the background, then some export insights. Then we'll discuss about the FDI trend, how we can tape the investment potential, why Pakistan is not that much attractive destination for the host economies. And then we can also focus on migration remittances, because remittances is a lifeline for the country. You can say it's a lifeline, or it's a symptom of economic failure. So it's difficult to conclude, but still it's a very important foreign exchange for the country. And then finally, we will conclude and will provide the way forward. Okay, so first I can discuss about the key socio-economic indicator for South Asian countries. So if we go to the figures, statistics, Pakistan has a larger population. Its GDP per capita, given its population, labor productivity, and human development index rank remain very concerning, even if we compare with the South Asian countries. And this low labor productivity and limited research and development expenditure are the major challenge for tapping the FDI, productive FDI, and export competitiveness. So there is urgent need for the reform, and this show that structure and policy reform are critical for unlocking Pakistan economic potential. Now, next is the Pakistan economic dynamics compared to the regional economies, India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. So Pakistan GDP has experienced significant fluctuation. It's more volatile, peaking at around 8% in 24, but it contracted in in the COVID time period in 2020, but that's happened in all the country. But the major difference between the regional economies and Pakistan is Pakistan, after a brief recovery, growth has declined again sharply. And that is due to the ongoing economic instability, political challenges in the country for the last few years, and also the external shocks also contribute to this low growth, such as Ukraine, Russia, and the ongoing situation in the Middle Eastern countries. And also we face some the climatic issue. In contrast, the regional pair like Bangladesh and India have maintained steady growth. Pakistan volatility highlight structural weaknesses and the missed opportunities for reform. Now, coming to the export side, our export is not that much promising. We are lagging in export performance compared to our regional counterpart, including India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, and China. For example, Bangladesh, they are more competitive in evaluated textile. India is competitor in pharmaceutical industry and information technology. Vietnam is more with electronics and the place for global value chain. And China is as a manufacturing hub. Pakistan is yet to capitalize on its advantages. Particularly, they are stuck in low value added agriculture and textile products. The Pakistan dominance mean more it's a low tech export, particularly the textile, which is 60% of our export. Bangladesh, for example, they have advanced textile with a streamlined process, and Vietnam, for example, integrate effectively into global supply chain with a strategic trade policy. So why we are lagging behind with the regional peer in a few decades when the other countries, they just move forward. So the major challenge, what we discuss it, the low productivity. Our productivity is very low compared to the other countries. Tariff and non-tariff barrier is also one of the factors that restrict the exports. Energy shortage we are facing for the last 2 decades, and the lack of diversification. Our export basket is very limited. We are just exporting some agriculture products and textile products. And the non-compliance with the global standard limit this Pakistan potential. So the thing is how we can improve the export competitiveness when we adopt the high valued manufacturer, and that could be leveraged, for example, with South Korea. They have expertise in technologies and R&D, so we can learn from there to enhance our capacity. Then with respect to the GDP, Pakistan is a very stagnant export growth, as shown in the blue line. It's more hovering around 10%. So this persistent underperformance highlights the urgent need for bold reform to improve competitiveness and invest in high value sector and integrate effectively into global and regional market. Then we have the widening trade deficit. So we are importing more machinery even for our exports. For example, we are exporting textile, but 60% of the intermediate inputs coming from China and other countries. So even for our export, we need imports. So we are more, you can say, import-oriented economy for essential good, and that is why we are stagnant export, where we are exporting more, importing more, and we have low export potential. So, and this deficit has steadily increased over the year, driven by stagnant export and rising imported dependency for our exports. And we have also, as I discussed, some structural inefficiencies. So, yeah. Now, coming toward what Pakistan can export and what South Korea can export and to the global world in terms of you can say industrial sector. So Pakistan is, as I said, they are exporting only textile. They have limited basket, very less diversified food product and some minerals. And they imports mainly machinery, electronics, and chemical, indicating an industrial dependency on advanced economies. So there is a huge complementarity between these two countries. They can improve their trade potential because South Korea, they are the larger exporter of mechanical and electronic goods. They transport equipment, which can improve the logistics side and also the chemical. And they're importing raw materials and intermediate goods. So what I see from there is a complementarity between these two countries to increase their trade. And for instance, there could be a giant venture in information technology and green energy that can boost this bilateral trade. So stronger trade tie with South Korea's promise innovation and will share the progress. Then this is basically what it shows. The figure 6 is the bilateral trade between what we are exporting to South Korea and what South Korea export to Pakistan. So it's a more you can say dominated by textile and food product. What we export to South Korean countries, but we have a very limited basket. We are exporting to South Korea, and similarly, what we are as importing from there is mainly machinery, electronics, and the auto side, which reflects South Korea advanced industrial base. Then this is what when we visualize the dynamics of both countries over the time period. So it's not very promising. What we see from there, both countries have low trade intensity, and we have the FTAs, which is not yet signed. It's proposed, so that could help both countries to achieve greater integration. As I said before, that both countries have a huge complementarity to trade, and Pakistan can benefit by reducing trade barrier and exploiting this niche market with the South Korean country, South Korea. And South Korea could tap into Pakistan's growing consumer base. So, and this is basically with respect to the technological level. So what we see from there, Pakistan is mainly fall under the low-tech and resource-based product, contrary to South Korea, which focus more on high-tech and medium-tech product, such as machinery and vehicles. So limited engagement we have in resource-based and low-tech categories. So again, we can say that mutually beneficial FTAs and efforts should target technology transfer, giant ventures, and investment in Pakistan manufacturing base. Now coming toward the FDI, the foreign direct investment situation in Pakistan. So if we look the figure number 9, it's again not very you can say. Pakistan is not very attractive. It's failed to attract the foreign direct investment. Now, one of the issue with the foreign direct investment, it's peaked. And for example, if we see in 2007 and 8, it's peaked, and then it's dropped down. It's around 1% of, less than 1% of the GDP. Now, at that time, that was the Musharraf time in 2007, and they attracted most of the textile and the financial sector FDI, which was not more, you can say, productive based or export oriented, but that was just a rent-seeking FDI. So Pakistan approach to FDI has been flawed with much of its concentrated in heavy reliance on sovereign guarantee to attract foreign investor. And that just create the fiscal liabilities while discouraging the private sector driven investment. So the thing is, what we have, what could be the strategy? So we have to shift our focus from rent-seeking FDI to productive sector such as manufacturing, IT, and renewable energy, and that is also the priority sector of border investment, Pakistan. And they can ensure a joint venture with local firm to maximize technological transfer and skill development. Now, with respect to sectoral FDI flow, as I said, it's more rent seeking. So mostly we attracted FDI in the energy, communication, real estate, which offering limited benefit. And South Korea's have established presence in Pakistan auto sector such as Hyundai and Kia. And they have the potential for expansion into information technology, renewable energy, and export-driven industry. So what Pakistan need basically, why they didn't attract the FDI? So the structural issue is they have to streamline the regulations. There are cumbersome issues for the foreigner to invest in the countries, and they have to reduce this red tape and foster private sector-led FDI for sustainable growth. Then regarding the country-wise breakdown of FDI, China is on the top investing in the country. So we are heavy relying, even this limited FDI, we are heavy relying on China, which remains the largest investor. And they focus on energy infrastructure through China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. But this FDI has very limited technological transfer to the local firm. And that is why, it's not translated well into the investment, domestic investment or productivity in the home country, in Pakistan. So it's more like a rent-seeking type of FDI. So what we can do, we have to reassess the structure of this investment and to focus more on export-oriented industrial development and employment that can generate employment generation and skill development. And we have to integrate the CPEC project with local industries, especially through local economic zone, what did by the Bangladesh, we can also learn from there, and to ensure the long-term economic benefit. Now, to move forward, next we have, the third important factor for foreign exchange is remittances. So remittances is basically the lifeline for the country, because we are facing the deficit, we have low investment. So to support our imports, remittances is the potent, you can say, foreign exchange that provide a lifeline for the country. Now, with respect to the growth of remittances over the time period, it's more, you can say, there is we see a promising growth in remittances starting from 1 billion in 2000, and now it's around 30 billion, so 30 times increase over the time period. Now, what's I will discuss it later. Now, it's a country-wise flow, remittances flow in 2023-24. I get this data from State Bank of Pakistan. So mostly it revealed the dominance of Gulf countries. So most of the remittances, around 60% coming from the Gulf countries, majorly from Saudi Arab and United Arab Emirates. And the Western countries, such as United States and United Kingdom, are the top sources for remittances. And that, now, what I said that remittances is a lifeline, or it's a symptom of economic failure. Why people are leaving the countries? So those countries who are relying on remittances, it's not like it's a permanent support. It's just like, you can say, an oxygen. Okay, we have to focus more on indigenous capabilities, exports, investment, and all these things. So remittances in billion of US dollars provide short-term relief, but the ongoing loss of talent reduce long-term productivity and stable innovation. So because people are leaving the country, so it will impact the long-term sustainability of the country. So policies must focus on retain the skilled worker while channeling remittances inflow into investment for sustainable development rather than just consumption. So just to conclude, now Pakistan face multifaceted challenges from trade deficit to a low FDI and also the talent outflow. Yet, we have a very strategic location. We have a youthful population and untapped potential provides significant opportunities. So our cooperation with the South Korean countries and also to the regional economies in high-tech manufacturing, information technologies, renewable energy can play a very transformative role. So the way forward is what we can do is to redirect remittances into investment and incentivize the skill talent retention. We have to diversify export through high-value manufacturing and strategic trade partnership with other countries, especially South Korea. We have to attract FDI instead of attracting rent-seeking FDI. We have to attract more productive sector by simplifying regulations and ensuring policy consistency. So that's all from my side. Thank you for your attention. I look forward for you have any thought or question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed, for your enlightening presentation on the opportunities in Pakistan. So now our third speaker is Dr. Mahfuz Kabir, Research Director at the Bangladesh Institute of International and Strategic Studies. So Dr. Kabir will present on change of economic and business opportunities in Bangladesh. So Dr. Kabir, please note that the floor is all yours, and ladies and gentlemen, please give him a big hand, please.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank KIEP, and especially Dr. Cho for inviting me to speak a few words before you. So I'll try to make the presentation in 15 minutes, but in fact, I may cross 1 or 2 minutes. So first, the situation of Bangladesh. I think you already heard about the situation. I mean, that there is a change of the government because of the popular, in fact, it should be called as a student-led, in fact, movement, in fact, and which, in fact, led to change the government. And now the current interim government has undertaken a lot of, in fact, reforms. So, and I think in the next 1 year there will be a lot of reform, and especially in the economic arena. So the government has in fact formed around 10 in fact reform commissions, and there are in fact committees and also task forces to assess the in fact the spending in different projects, especially in the mega projects, and it's also trying to in fact reprioritize the developmental agenda. But in the initial assessment, so the interim government has found that the mega projects, most of the mega projects are really necessary for the economy of Bangladesh, especially to promote the growth, investment, and also the promote connectivity. So that's in a nutshell. But if we see in fact the development of the country over the last 1.5 decades or 2 decades, so the economy is more or less stable, and with the impressive economic growth, like on average 6% of growth of GDP, and then now the economic size is at $455 billion. It's the estimate of 2024, and then it's the 35th largest economy in the world, and then second in South Asia. So, and if we compare it with the 2010's GDP size, it was only 115, and in fact about 10 years ago Bangladesh has graduated from the in fact low-income country to a lower middle-income country, and now it's aspiring to in fact graduate from the least developed country to the in fact developing country in the year 2026 of November. So, and it's regarded as the in fact the 25th largest purchasing in purchasing power parity, and the one of the next 11 countries of the world, and its GNI per capita is now in fact $2,860 US dollars, and it's transforming from the in fact frontier market into the emerging market. So if you see the literature, so you'll find it, it's in fact identified as an emerging market, and you see a lot of changes in the over the last, in fact, 2-3 years because of the COVID-19, and afterwards the Russia-Ukraine war, and now we are facing the problem in the Middle East. So still, I mean, the country has been proven as a resilient one because of the climate change, because of the, in fact, shock in the global supply chain, and it's aspiring to attract a lot of investment in the, especially along the, in fact, the connectivity routes, and also the major investment areas like, I mean, the export processing zone and the special economic zone, and the government has identified 100 special economic zone, of which 97 are the, in fact, production areas, and the 3 are the special, in fact, specially designated areas. So, and if you see, just briefly mention the Bangladesh-Korea relations. So, diplomatic relations started in December 18 of 1973, right after the 2 years of independence, and there are increased cooperation in the wide range of areas like, I mean, the trade and commerce especially, and the investment in manpower, in fact, and then developmental assistance through especially the KOICA, and education, human resource development, ICT, defense, and cultural exchanges. So there are a lot of areas, and Bangladesh labor market is getting a priority in terms of, in fact, manpower export under the employment permit scheme. So, and if you see the, in fact, the trend of trade of Bangladesh with South Korea, so, and in 2015-16 it was 170 million US dollars its export, and then it is to 458 million in 2022-23, and now it's about 1.05% of the total export of Bangladesh. And if you see the imports, so there are a slight, in fact, turbulence, but in 2015-16 the in fact the import was, in fact, 2.86% of our total import of merchandise, in fact, goods, and it came down to 2.34%. But if we see the total, in fact, trade, it's more than 2 billion US dollars. And if we see the composition, so from Bangladesh, the exports are mainly textile and apparel. So it would 88% of the total exports, and imports are in fact more or less, I mean, diversified. So 41% mineral fuels and chemical, plastic, paper and paperboard, textile and apparel, then base metal, machinery, mechanical appliances, and floating structures. So these are the main products that we import from South Korea. And if we see the, in fact, apparel import of Korea from the world, so Bangladesh occupies 5% of the total, and China is the number one, 34%, Vietnam 29%. So, and Bangladesh gets a GSP facility in South Korean market. So, and it's and I think it's 98% of the total, in fact, items get the duty-free access. And in fact, Korea is 12th largest import source of Bangladesh with 1.6 billion in 2022-23. And Korean investment. So I think it's well known that in fact Korea is the promoter, in fact initial promoter of Bangladesh RMG industry. So with the support of Daewoo Corporation back in 1979. So it's in fact I would say the revolution of textile and clothing. So that started in Bangladesh. So, and afterwards, I mean, it's a big, one of the big, in fact, investors in Bangladesh. And there is a special, in fact, EPZ in Bangladesh, which is called Korean EPZ, which is located in Chittagong. So, and it exports 1.25 billion US dollars, mostly from the RMD factories, and it employs 70,000 workers, and it's 70% are women. So if we see the, in fact, FDI inflow, so and net FDI in 2023 calendar year, it's 181 million from Korea, and it's mostly in textile and apparel, so 81%, and there are some others like, I mean, the trading, banking, leather and leather products, chemical and pharmaceuticals. So it's more concentrated towards the textile and apparel. But if you see the stock of the FDI, so it's around 1.5 billion. So it's the fourth largest stock of all countries. So it's coming from Korea. So and it's a picture of Korean EPZ located in Chattogram. So it's there are 48 industrial units. So it's largely under the Young One. So Young One started business in Bangladesh back in 1980. So and with the only 250 in fact workers, now it has around 70,000 workers. So it's a big one, and it has been contributing a lot in the employment generation. It's not only the in fact RMG sector, but also they have the in fact IT in fact, and it's also creating, and it aspires to create about 20,000 additional employment. So and in fact an interesting thing, I mean, if you see the rooftop, so a lot of solar panels in the in fact Young One's factory. So it's also a kind of a compliant, and it's called green factory. And nowadays in Bangladesh, in fact, of the top 10 factories of the world in terms of green factories, so it's 9 is located in Bangladesh, and top around in fact out of 20 top green factories, 18 is located in Bangladesh. So it's a kind of revolution of in fact the green industries, factories. So now it's a snapshot of Korean in fact electronics and automobile companies. So we have Samsung, so Samsung Electronics is in there, and LG, Butterfly, and also very recently, in fact, Hyundai. So they have started, in fact, car assembling in Bangladesh. And there are many others, like, I mean, there are around 200 in fact, Korean companies working in Bangladesh, and they have, in fact, diversified portfolio in Bangladesh investment. So, so now it's a different area, which is in fact, Bangladesh is receiving a significant amount of in fact, ODA from Korea. So, and it's one of the top, in fact, receiving countries from South Korea. So, and in 2023, out of June 30, so the outstanding, in fact, debt outstanding was 812 million US dollars. And actually, if you see the composition, it's 1% of the total, in fact, outstanding. But what I perceive, I mean, that there are changes in the whole landscape, because many of the, in fact, development partners, they have saturated. But in fact, the support is will come from new, in fact, partners. And in fact, Korea is one of the long-standing partners of our development, especially in the areas of infrastructural development, and also in fact, in business investment. And nowadays we are thinking of or expecting a lot of, in fact, investment in the infrastructure, like, I mean, the development of the communication, especially in the MRT, in fact, mass rapid transit. Okay, so it's just some of the pictures, and in the left top is in fact the reconstruction of the rail bridge, and the right hand side, and it's MRT, that means a mass rapid transport. It's called Metro Rail. So it started in Bangladesh with the support of JICA, but there are expansions of the routes. I mean, Korea has already shown interest in 2 additional lines, like MRT5, so Southern Route project. So its total is about the cost is 5.5 billion, but Korea will provide 1 billion, and ADB will be providing the other, in fact, parts, and the government of Bangladesh will provide also some amount. But most interesting is in fact, MRT 4 line. So it's a huge one, and in fact, Korea will provide, in fact, support to establish that. So it's a kind of inter-district kind of transport. So, and overall, we are expecting 21 billion, in fact, US dollars of support from, in fact, from Korea. One is the country's first subway. It will cost in fact, it will cost $8 billion. And then Dhaka Circular Railway, so it will cost 8.4 billion. And there are other, in fact, routes and in fact infrastructure. So it will change the landscape of the development support. And the most important thing is that the in fact support under in fact Korea's ODA is in fact less expensive than other in fact developmental partners. It costs only, I mean, if we consider the rate of interest, just 0.1 to 0.5% of the interest rate. And it's, if you see the whole, in fact, repayment period is 40 years, up to 40 years, and the grace period is up to 15 years. So it's a huge leverage on the whole development assistance. So if you see the KIEP and EDCF, so these are the, in fact, funding channels, and the areas are education, transport infrastructure, water management, public health, public administration. So there's a huge range of areas in which, I mean, the Bangladesh is getting support from Korea. So, and if you see the development partnership, I already mentioned, but it's going to receive 3 billion, in fact, concessional loan from South Korea, and in the period of 2023-27, and there are other, in fact, areas to which the country will get support from Korea. So, and in fact, transport sector, so as already the MOU was signed, and Bangladesh will, in fact, purchase 340 CNG, in fact, AC buses. So there is a company, state-owned company called BRTC, Bangladesh Road Transport Corporation. So, and it's going to overhaul the whole, in fact, the public transport system, especially through buses. So, and what are the frontier areas? Like, I mean, the strengthening economic ties, it's very important that Bangladesh government and also the people of Bangladesh, they in fact, perceive that it's now the time to diversify the developmental partnership, and Korea as it's the long-standing, in fact, developmental partner. So we are, in fact, thinking of diversifying, and Korea will come as a big developmental partner. So, and in fact, we are expecting a lot of investment in the industries, like the manufacturing technology, especially towards promoting the fourth industrial revolution. And we are also, in fact, aiming to sign an FTA with Korea, even though Bangladesh is getting the duty-free market access for most of its products, but in fact, it will expire during the graduation, so from LDC in November 2026, but there is no transition period right now. So, in fact, the MFN tariff will be imposed on Bangladeshi products. So, Bangladesh wants to sign the FTA. So, and Bangladesh may join the, in fact, RCEP, so in which Korea is also a member. So, and through that channel, I mean, the trade and investment would be facilitated. But we are expecting, in fact, an investment in diversified areas of the economy, like, I mean, the footwear. So, footwear is becoming a big, in fact, contributor in the whole export basket, and also light engineering, which is basically regarded as one of the, in fact, important and emerging, in fact, the SME sector, and ICT, pharmaceuticals, shipbuilding. So these are the areas, and also there are new areas, like, I mean, the deep sea fishing, agricultural machinery. So the agriculture is becoming commercial, and there are a lot of processing works is being done, and Bangladesh is exporting a lot of, in fact, the agricultural and especially the food items to Europe and North American countries. And there is another thing, like, I mean, the carbon trading system. So the Korea has is a good, in fact, an established carbon trading scheme. So, and Bangladesh can participate in that scheme. So, and I'm coming to the final part of my presentation. So it's and Bangladesh is actually aspiring to become a developed country in the next 2 decades. So, and Bangladesh is a partner of the region, and also with the, in fact, developed world in the Indo-Pacific strategy, and Bangladesh has recently formulated the Indo-Pacific outlook, and in fact, and Bangladesh has a good chance to be a member of the IPEF, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, and it supports the free, open, inclusive, peaceful and secure in the Pacific region. So in that way, I mean, there is a good, in fact, possibility of creating economic network, investment network through the IPEF. And in fact, Bangladesh expects the FDI through the connectivity routes, as I already mentioned, and also in the mega infrastructure, and especially along the Podda bridge, which is the largest bridge in Bangladesh, and also in the special economic zones, and in fact, there will be improvements in the business in the environment, and the economy will be already it's predictable because there is a long-term, in fact, stable growth in the country. So, and even though we are, in fact, expecting some turmoils because of the change of the government, but the good thing is that the government had not, in fact, undertaken any kind of force to reduce any kind of movement. So nowadays you'll find in the newspaper that there are some protests in the streets, especially in Dhaka city, but the government did not require any kind of use of force. So so I think it's a symptom of stability, more of stability. So and there are some, in fact, separate incidents in the country. So the environment, the business environment is more or less stable, and we'll find in fact improved business environment in the next year, because the government is undertaking a lot of reform, especially in the economic and financial area. So and we are expecting in fact FDI from our friendly country, from our development partners. So with this, I would like to thank you all. So we are expecting, in fact, more investment and in fact communication in the developmental area of Bangladesh from our development partners and business people. Thank you.
So finally, we have Dr. Asanka Wijesinghe, Research Fellow at the Institute of Policy Studies of Sri Lanka. So Dr. Wijesinghe will deliver his presentation on change of economic and business opportunities in Sri Lanka. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Wijesinghe with a warm round of applause.
Hi, good afternoon all. I'm Asanka Wijesinghe from Institute of Policy Studies of Sri Lanka. My major research area is in international trade. I will, in my presentation, discuss about the current economic situation in the country and what kind of products Sri Lanka is interested in diversifying. In this case, we need to factor in a lot of existing characteristics, like, for example, what is the level of technological advancement existing in the country. It is like if you are producing a T-shirt, having a dream to produce in a nuclear reactor is not going to work. It is a huge jump. So we have identified those related products which Sri Lanka might need to look for the investors. Yep. So this is the brief outline of the presentation. As I explained, the current economic status of Sri Lanka is, we can say that Sri Lanka has recovered from the crisis. In 2021 and 22 especially, there was a huge plummet in the growth. For example, in 2022, the growth rate was about negative 7.8. Positive growth is expected in 2024. The most recent quarters, Sri Lanka has recorded a positive GDP growth. In 2022, exports grew while total manufacturing output contracted. So export sector was pretty much resilient because the demand was coming outside the country, and garment sector especially performed really well. One major worry was about the inflation. It skyrocketed to the level of 70% in 2022, but now it has come down to the central bank's targeted rate. In recent months, actually, it was sometimes a negative. So there was a talk whether we are entering a deflation regime, but the policy flexibility exists with the Central Bank of Sri Lanka to induce the demand. You can see that after many quarters of negative economic growth, Sri Lanka is recording consistently positive GDP growth in the most recent quarters. Sri Lanka's economic crisis was actually a debt crisis. The major issue was Sri Lanka had debt obligations, but the reserve position was not enough. By around 2022, reserve level came down to about 1.2 billion, but that 1.2 billion was not usable currency. It was in Chinese yuan. Right now, reserve position has come up to about 6 billion as in August 2024. So what is the existing structure of the production of Sri Lanka? So this figure shows the compound annual growth rate of various products Sri Lanka exports with a comparative advantage. It is the y-axis. The x-axis is the complexity of these products. So you can see in the left lower quadrant, there are big bubbles. Those are the bubbles Sri Lanka export a lot, for example, tea, agricultural products, and ready-made garments. They are technologically not that complex, but Sri Lanka is exporting more of this. And the issue is this: the dominant sectors are recording lower export growth. The average export growth from 2012 to 2022 was annual average rate was about 2.3. However, there are promising sectors in the right-hand side of this graph. Right-hand side, the upper quadrant shows technologically complex products which are growing in a higher rate. For example, products like electric sound or visual signaling apparatus. These are HS chapter 84, 85 products. Sri Lanka is recording a high growth. So it is important, research shows that if you produce high technology products, then those countries' per capita GDP is very high. So Sri Lanka's diversification of exports rely on this path, obtaining comparative advantage in new technologically complex areas. You can see the current status of complexity in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is located in lower left quadrant. That means Sri Lanka's existing economic complexity is low. But you can see South Korea, Singapore, Japan, Thailand, those countries are located in right-hand side with high economic complexity. So what is the way forward for product diversification and exporting more from Sri Lanka? One thing is, as I said, producing more complex products. It is basically unlocking comparative advantage by jumping to more complex products. However, this jumping should happen as a function of the existing economic complexity. The dreams should be realistic, as I said. While now we are producing some electronic equipment, ready-made garment, the most realistic products are, should be located very close to the existing production level. The other thing is capitalizing on green initiatives. For example, in the world, e-mobility initiatives are going on. Producing EV battery components and recycling are possible avenues for Sri Lanka. And it is also important to maintain the existing comparative advantage. You know, in the world, there are various industrial policy measures coming into play now. For example, the European Union has carbon border adjustment mechanism. Luckily, Sri Lanka is not producing anything in that category, but there is a possibility CBAM will be expanded into synthetic fiber. If it happens, Sri Lanka will be in a big trouble because ready-made garment, one major raw material is the synthetic fiber. So there is a potential for sustainable fabric production given the technological know-how of the country. So what kind of products Sri Lanka can target based on this technological relatedness argument? So Harvard Atlas have identified these products, including semiconductor devices, electrical apparatus, electric motors and generators. The importance is Sri Lanka already has some comparative advantage in these areas, and also the global size is very high. We can increase the production. If we can increase this production, it's a promising avenue for Sri Lanka. Other thing is the EV battery value chain. We completed the study, but this should happen based on the comparative advantage, technological relatedness, and the natural resource endowments. Currently, this anode material production and the related technology is very close to the existing technical know-how of the country. Sri Lanka has natural resource endowment, for example, high quality vein graphite. It is that the extraction level purity is really high. However, the issue is having a dream like producing the entire battery pack within the country is not going to help, because Sri Lanka does not have a vehicle manufacturing industry. Logistically, batteries are produced very close to the vehicle manufacturing plants. However, Sri Lanka might be able to produce the components like the anode material. Or further down the value chain, it is possible for going for the recycling of batteries. Recycling of batteries has less competitors in the world. This is a growing business area. Sri Lanka has deep seawater ports which can be utilized for this logistic operation. Currently, these are the interested and technologically possible areas given the government's industrial policy. One thing is EV battery value chain, capitalizing on high purity graphite and the global industrial policy changes like United States Inflation Reduction Act subsidies, which excludes China from these subsidies. Other thing is pharmaceutical manufacturing, sustainable fabrics, electronics and electric equipment manufacturing in HS chapters 84 and 85. This is a snapshot of current investment promotion and trade facilitation measures of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has actively negotiated reduced tariffs with key trade partners. For example, we have a free trade agreement with India. There is a free trade agreement with Pakistan. We signed a free trade agreement with Thailand and Singapore. Also, there were negotiations, the Sri Lanka cabinet noted for the negotiations with Indonesia and Malaysia for free trade agreements. And if a firm is located in Sri Lanka, then they will be exempted from most of the import duty, for example, in the pharmaceutical manufacturing sector. And there are market incentives like buyback guarantees by Sri Lanka government, especially in the pharmaceuticals. And dedicated infrastructure zones are available. One is being proposed specifically for pharmaceuticals and also fabric and this electronic manufacturing. Sri Lanka was in the path for this gradual trade liberalization, especially with the aim of joining ASEAN value chains. The long-term ambition is regional comprehensive economic partnership. However, for that, Sri Lanka should sign free trade agreements with 15 countries. So far, only 2 free trade agreements have been signed. And institutional reforms to increase efficiency in investment approvals is going on. Other thing is customs and border facilitation, for example, national single window. It is going on right now. As a conclusion, Sri Lanka's existing business environment, government, industrial policy, and also the technological know-how of the country, electronic component production, EV anodes, recycling, and EV battery recycling are possible new products. Current industrial policy for pharmaceutical is mainly focusing on import substitution, but exporting is a distant goal. However, attracting investment has been a challenging task given this macroeconomic downturn, but currently Sri Lanka has recovered. So countries have expressed in these areas. For example, South Korea has expressed interest in renewable energy and this graphite-related investments. Sri Lanka government will push for factor market reforms and trade facilitation. It should be happened to attract this investment. Thank you very much.
Thank you again. So I think we have four speakers. So I think the presentation is, I think, very informative with very recent data. So as for me, it's very good time to understanding recent economic situations and what kind of some challenges is there, and how to develop the deep cooperations between Korea and each South Asian countries. Thank you again. So at this moment, I already mentioned we already have more than 70 participants. But anyway, when they registered, they give us a kind of some pre-questions. So first, I will give you the questions, two common questions to you. So, and then I will open the floor. Okay. The first, my question is, as you lady present us and everybody here, so we can understand that the situation of the four countries. At this moment, the economic the situation is not so good, and there are so many challenges and risks. So the first question is, what kind of risk, what kind of challenge is most important and urgent to solve, and how to solve them, and how long it will take is the first the questions, common questions. I think please answer the online, especially the Nepal's. Dr. Sigdel, you first. Nepal, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, please. Please, Dr. Sigdel.
Sure. May I talk? May I start?
Yes. Yes, sure.
Thank you for inviting me again, and for the open plenary session, discussion. Thank you, Dr. Cho, for this session.
Okay,
And, you already mentioned that there might be two questions. That is, one is related to risks, and the another is, as a Korean Industry Expo is going to be held. By that time, what sorts of, 250 Korean Expo, and what sorts of input, we can provide to them, And I think, in South Asia, the major risks, hidden is, some are the socio-political factor, and some are economic and legal issue, I think, And there is a kind of political instability and chaos, and especially internal strife that is happening in Pakistan, that is that was happened in Sri Lanka, now stable, and it is on the process Bangladesh, and this is disturbing the investment climate, and the Bangladesh it could not export much, due to this region, and in the case of Nepal, the frequent closure and political instability, hung government, sometimes one party wins, one party come in the government, and it carries the policies and issues, and when it comes in the power, the legal facet of investment, trade, and this is dwindled, because distort the track, and they are not under the ambit of the policy. The government should be under the ambit of policy. Government is not guided, reluctantly they change the policy. As a result, the investor are harassed, in the case of Nepal. And there is a kind of trade unionism, in the enterprise that are running in Nepal. And as they, sometimes they bargain for wage, sometimes they bargain for, some sorts of facility, and sometimes the electricity, they demand more electricity. And due to this reason, the political reason, due to the trade union, the agitation by the labor force, and due to some sorts of political instability, agitation, internal strife, and that is hampering the investment climate, the business climate at all. There is, in Nepal, we find the red tapeism, the lethargic, bureaucratic procedure. When, for example, A, B, C, the Korean entrepreneur, they come to have some enterprise, to invest in some enterprise. And on the, gate of, so-called, investment office, they are harassed. And how come they invest? How come they go through the, there are, if they submit the paper for establishing joint venture project, and it takes 100 day, 120 day, 130 day, like that, and sometimes due to this, the political climate has been distorted. So, firstly, the climate should be conducive, and the governance level, in SAARC region, South Asian, individual South Asian region, the level of governance is degrading. How one can, upgrade the level of governance? That also determines the level of investment, and trading activity within the country, and in turn that support the growth and support for the pave the way for the investment and the expansion of trading activity. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Junaid, Dr. Junaid. Dr. Junaid, please open your voice. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah. As I discussed in the presentation, that Pakistan facing with multi-type of risk. I mean, it's not just individual. It started from political instability for the last decades, and also it's lead to economic instability. That is the major issues why Pakistan is lagging even with the regional economies of the neighboring countries. Focusing on, for example, exports, I will just one by one answer. What I discussed for example, tariff is the main issue. Pakistan is restricting imports. So even with when we compare with the regional economies, Pakistani tariff is much high. Even 60% of the imports coming for export promotion, I mean, for the export. Our export strategy is more, you can say, export bias. There is export biasism. On one side, we are promoting export, on the other side, we are importing import substitution policy. So there is a policies inconsistency in promoting export. The second thing is export, you can say, incentives. So the export incentive is mostly it's that they face the exporter, they face delays in funding to get those funding. And the second issue is most of the incentives goes to those who have some like a relationship, something like that. They are big firms. The textile firm, mostly it goes to textile. Even they are not more, you can say, progressive. They are not performing. So we are, in that perspective, we are ignoring the small, medium enterprises. We are not entering them to exports or to exchange rate instability. So for the last 3-4 years, what you had with Pakistan is the currency was most volatile in the region. It started from like 120, I think, in 2020, 130, something like that, and now it's stopped at 280. So last year it was much volatile. At one time it was like 330, then 280, something like that. So much volatility was there. So even the depreciation, we depreciated our currency, that not become helpful to encourage our export due to this volatility. Our currency is depreciated, but at the same time it's more volatile, and that is why we are not in the position to attract investment exports to export, increase our exports. Other issues regarding, for example, the energy securities, the cost of electricity is much high in Pakistan compared to Bangladesh and other regional countries. Even we are not, we have less skill. Skill proportion is also very low. We have a bulge of population, but our skill proportion is much low compared to the other countries. So that is why we are still stuck in low valued exports.
Okay, thank you.
If we compare with Bangladesh. So these are the things why we are lagging behind in export sector. Now, the other case is foreign direct investment. So as I discussed before, that Pakistan failed to attract historically the productive investment. They attracted somehow the some strategic investment in the Musharraf time period, like in telecommunication and some other sectors, transport sector, financial sectors from Hong Kong. And now after the CPEC in 2013, we have a lot of investment coming from China, but that is more, you can say, non-productive. It's more related to energy and infrastructure. So they are not inculcated in the domestic industry. So that is why I mean we are still have our GDP, as I discussed it before in our first slide, the investment to GDP ratio is very low, and that is very important for sustainable economic growth. You have to invest. At least, I mean, our people, how we can expect from the other country to invest in our country when our own domestic investment is just like 12, it's hovering around 12 to 10%. So that is another issue we are facing, and the thing is, foreigners are very reluctant for the procedure. There are cumbersome procedure for registering a firm in the country. So these are the issues we are facing. Now the third is regarding remittances. So remittances it's a more lifeline because we have more imports and we have less exports. So the deficit can be financed by some of the deficit we finance by using this remittances money. But now the policymaker, they are happy that we are receiving remittances and increasing, like from 2 billion, 1 billion, 2000, now it's 30 billion, and it's more than exports, unfortunately. So they are happy that we are receiving this something from the diaspora, but it's more like an oxygen, as you can say, steroids. That I mean, you can say discourage you to invest you can say to for employment generation in the country. So it's more like you can say will impact the long-term sustainability in term, because lot of talent they are going abroad. So and they will settle there. So what we will lack.
Okay.
So that is another case, that is a dilemma. On one side we are receiving remittances, but the other side, the long-term perspective is that it will reduce our productivity more.
Okay. Dr.
At
Junaid,
the end, it will be will impact the long-term economic sustainability. So these are my point. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
What we have to provide, we have to provide conducive environment. We have to instead of move up from a low value added export to a high value even in textile sector. Yes, that's from my.
Thank you, Dr. Junaid. We have very sorry, we have a limited time. So okay, Dr. Kabir, yeah.
It's not working, so. Okay, yeah, it's working. So, yeah, thank you. So I partly covered in fact, the problems and uncertainties, challenges of the Bangladesh economy. So what I, in fact, broadly perceive is that, I mean, the recent change in the government led by the student movement. So it was just 20 days movement of the students, and because of that, our export, especially the whole, in fact, foreign trade was disrupted. But afterwards, there are, in fact, you understand, I mean, in every, in fact, tremor or earthquake, there are aftershocks. So we are facing some aftershocks, but it's mostly, in fact, stabilized. You'll find some, in fact, movements in the economic zones and also the industrial areas. So just few, but it's not that serious right now. So we have, in fact, mostly overcome the, in fact, challenges in the export sector, and the import is normal. I mean, the import from India, so it's quite normal, and new products are being added in the import list, like, I mean, the egg, in fact, green chili, so these are being included. But and also the import from other countries of the world is quite normal, and we have a stable, in fact, foreign currency reserve, which is around $20 billion US. So in the BPM method, so it's of IMF. So and the gross, in fact, foreign exchange reserve is about 26 billion. So more or less stable. But the thing is that over the last 1.5 decades, I mean, the entire narrative of development of the country is based on the infrastructural development. So its human dimension is absent. So this number one, and number two is there is a lot of alleged corruption. So to, in fact, implement the infrastructural projects, especially the mega projects. For example, we are now, in fact, constructing a nuclear power plant. So and it costs a lot means, I mean, the more than $10 billion US. So but there is a question whether we could diversify the sources. I mean, then based on the competition or competitive bidding, so we could select the least cost, in fact, power plant. I mean, the nuclear power plants, and South Korea could be one of the, in fact, suppliers. So, and we had a meeting with the, in fact, a Korean ambassador in Bangladesh, and we invited him in our institute to deliver a lecture. And afterwards, I mean, we had the discussion, and they expressed a lot of interest to establish a nuclear power plant with a very low cost and very safe. But unfortunately, because of, you understand, I mean, that there's a kind of, in fact, relationship. So this kind of relationship is very bad for the economy. So you have to remain objective. So that is a challenge, and the challenge for the, in fact, the interim government is to, in fact, maintain neutrality in the development, and in fact, select the most, in fact, important projects for the development, and also introduce the, or impart the, in fact, human dimension in the development narrative. So this is number two. Number three is basically the, just briefly speaking, so it's regarding the, in fact, understanding the necessity of the mega projects. One or two of the mega projects have been identified as the, in fact, low impacting, high cost, in fact, projects like, I mean, the Karnapoli tunnel. So it's not creating that kind of impact in easing the transport. So and there are some others. So but it costs a high amount of, in fact, foreign currency. So and as already mentioned, there are a lot of, in fact, charges of corruption. So then, and the government is, in fact, assessing the, in fact, the mega projects, so whether, I mean, and to what extent, and in fact, the use of money was really, in fact, necessary, and how much, in fact, currency were, in fact, went abroad. So through money laundering. So and there is another. I would say the fourth is the instability in the banking sector. So nowadays we have the, in fact, 60 plus, in fact, banks. So and in fact 46 banks have the excess liquidity, but other than that, even the other banks, like, I mean, 17, 18 banks are suffering from the huge liquidity crisis, and about 10 banks are, in fact, about to become bankrupt. So that is a big problem. And And the government is trying to, especially the central bank is trying to, in fact, tame the whole financial sector, especially the banking sector, and through a lot of reforms which is going on. And I think it will take some time because the IMF is there with us, and they're providing technical support, and they have provided us some loan package. So I think we'll overcome the situation, but it will take some time. I mean, they're just 2-3 years to stabilize the financial sector, especially the banks. But other than that, when we have in fact, developed a lot of, in fact, mega projects with the cost, in fact, which could have been minimized. But I think I don't see any kind of political instability further, any further. There will be smooth election because the Chief Election Commissioner has been appointed last night. He's a very honest person. And the other things are going on very smoothly. And I think, despite one thing I just need to mention, which is like, I mean, the Moody's, they have, in fact, they have the credit rating. So Bangladesh has downgraded the credit rating, has been downgraded by the Moody's. But otherwise, I mean, I think the financial sector will take some time, but still, the whole economy is going towards stability. And it will remain stable in the next years. So that's my own take, and I invite in fact, foreign investors and in the country to invest in the special economic zones and other places. So, and there are a lot of sectors. So I'll be speaking on that later on. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Cho. When we look at Sri Lanka's situation is, sometimes policymakers and researchers always ask to improve the business or attract investment, what we can do more. We have established these export processing zones, capital allowance, and tax concessions, income tax concessions, tax holidays, and everything. So my take is, maybe the most important thing is macroeconomic outlook. If there are periodical shoot up of inflation, inability to fund the necessary imports due to the reserve position issues. So those are the most important factors affecting the business environment. For example, in the recent economic crisis, Sri Lanka did not have enough reserves, so the measure to solve that problem was import controls and capital controls. So it is not creating a good business environment. So this is a major issue, and the most important factor Sri Lanka should be looking in the coming years. We should have a stable macroeconomic position, controlled inflation, and the exchange rate should be determined by the market rate without government interventions. And also, it is important to stop the monetary financing. It was causing inflation. Actually, currently, Sri Lanka's monetary institutes are functioning under the Independence Act. So the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has the independence, monetary independence, to determine the policy variables. Policy reforms were inconsistent in Sri Lanka. That was a major problem, especially labor market issues. There are entrepreneurs, these investors were asking some reforms, but those were not implemented. One thing is SOE reforms, state-owned enterprises. For example, Sri Lanka government has the monopoly in electricity generation. So it is inefficient, and its inefficiency is affecting all the layers. In the economic crisis, for example, when we did not have enough resources to import coal and oil, then there were power cuts. So these are the major things. When we have a stable economic outlook and these variables are controlled, then my understanding is those incentives will act and attract the businesses. So there are global changes, of course, global challenges, but these are not, Sri Lanka as a small economy in the world, we cannot control. For example, carbon border adjustment mechanism, EUDR is also a problem, European Union deforestation regulation, because Sri Lanka is exporting tea and coffee. Then we need to show that those products are not cultivated in deforested land. So this traceability is important in the EU market. So those are challenges, and with the US political change, if there will be a blanket global tariff, that will be a big issue. But unfortunately, as a small country, we don't have a control over this. But the first two sets of challenges, Sri Lanka can take measurable actions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now I will give up second questions of the pre-questionnaires.
So my questions are can be for every presenter. First of all, I have to mention that my questions may not be directly related to the contents of the presentations. So these are more of indirect and general questions based on my genuine curiosity. First of all, I believe economic opportunities in all nations of South Asia will eventually be expanded, but we cannot simply ignore the other uncontrollable factors. First of all, we can assume all these, there are changes going on in economic and business opportunities in a positive direction, and this vision must be based on the assumption that political scene is stabilized and economic policy of the government functions in a way to support the economic development. And as you know, politics and economy are deeply interconnected with each other. In case the political scenes fluctuate, economic scenes inevitably get affected in a negative way. For instance, current regime of India doesn't seem most hospitable when it comes to the diplomatic relations with other South Asian nations. There are and will be political tension between India and Pakistan due to many factors such as border disputes. And we are clearly aware of the fact that current Indian government wants to influence or interfere political scenes of other nations such as Nepal, Bangladesh, with excuses of migrants and all. So my first question is, how can we prevent, or can we prevent the situation that these unpredictable dynamic changes of political scenes affecting economic opportunities of South Asian countries? So this will be my first question. And my second question is somewhat about the cultural aspects. All South Asian countries and South Korea are potential partners of business corporations, not only just markets. The problem is, racism exists everywhere. Although it seems a somewhat trivial issue, each of those business individuals' negative experience of racism, such as discrimination, scamming, or racial slurs, constantly affects the image of the nation to the people who reside each other's nations, which has a risk of affecting to withdraw a negative outcome in terms of economic cooperation as well. So here my second question would be, how can we prevent or overcome the issue of these racism affecting economic opportunities?
Very sorry. We have huge participants, and you also give us very huge questions. So I think it's enough, and it's not easy to answer, I think. But anyway, I will give you the chance to all of the speakers. Just only about maximum 2 minutes, okay? Yeah, less than 2 minutes. I think it will be the last comments and the questions. Okay, please. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Interesting question. I agree that these economic opportunities, political dynamics cannot be separated. These are very well interconnected. But my guess is, as we know that the Nobel Prize winners of this year in the economics, their contribution was the quality of institutes. If the countries have unstable institutes, quality institutes, most of these political changes or sudden changes may not affect much because, for example, if the rule of law is strong in a country, then whatever the party in power or whatever their policies might not affect much. It is always about the business interest, the ability to own properties or hire or fire employees. Those are the most important factors that business environment is concerned. So my understanding is this political dynamics may not affect if we have good institutions in the South Asian region. As I told, Sri Lanka recently passed Central Bank Independence Act. So whatever the government will be in power, whatever their policies, so Central Bank Independence Act prohibits money printing. So those things might be the answers to your concerns. Thank you.
Hello?
Okay. Yes. Dr. Say it again.
Well,
first.
good question, but a comprehensive one. And probably I would be partial to, response on it. And well, as we talk of India-Nepal relationship, the India should lead like a, big brother, for all small South Asian nation. First, my suggestion, that is, and when we faced the stalemate between India and Nepal, and India had a blockade, during Modi regime, the first, when Modi came, due to some personal connection like that, we had a bad experience, blockade like that. We had to import the goods from China, Korea, and elsewhere, and this, pulled the situation of good relation between India and Nepal. And from the time immemorial, India and Nepal, they have open border, 1800 kilometer open border, and there is a kind of roti-beti relation, good relation, In the case of Nepal, Nepal has good relation with all South Asian countries. So, India should treat like, the young brother to all nations, and she should, open her economy for the investment, even from Bangladesh, even from Nepal, and even I think, some sorts of a tariff that has been levied on the border side, targeting Nepalese agro product, and they should pave the way, to go the such product in the Indian market, particularly UP, Bihar, and Uttarakhand. And if India is open-hearted, then the other countries could could have a kind of interaction in terms of trade, investment, and other activities. And that also, due to this also, due to open border, we can have a collaborative work on the front of tourism and enterprise.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Junaid, please
Yeah,
give
just,
answer shortly, briefly. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just it's not an answer, but just a comment. It's a very good question. South Asian countries, they are large by economic size and population, but they are not well connected. And due to the conflict between Pakistan and India, the political conflict, and no country, I'm just on the Pakistani side, you will not prosper until you open the border. That is the regional integration is much important. And even we sign, like to improve the regional integration, we sign different sort of agreements, SAFTA and then South Asian Free Trade Agreement, but they are much ineffective. We have no trade after signing. So even the SEO agreement, Shanghai, is also not effective due to these political tensions. So I think that is more important, that we have at least the good diplomatic relationship that can enhance the prosperity within the countries. So that's my side.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Very briefly,
after the changes of government in Bangladesh, so there is a perceived tension between Bangladesh and India, but I would tell you that trade is normal. I mean, the export and import both are quite normal, and new, in fact, products are being added with the import basket. So it's the one thing. The other thing is that in the diplomatic channel, I mean, I don't see any kind of big tension other than the problem with the visa from the Indian side. So and the, in fact, tourist visa is not allowed right now, but I mean, both the countries are working very hard to, in fact, normalize the visa procedure. But other than that, I don't think, I mean, there is a big issue. But if there is an issue, so I could not come to, in fact, Delhi. So the government is giving, in fact, speedy kind of approval of the travel, especially of the in fact, government officials. So it's already in normal shape, but I expect that there will be a partnership dialogue in December or January between Bangladesh and India. So and the divergences could be resolved. So that is the thing, and there are tensions everywhere in the world. So and the issue is that, I mean, whether we can, in fact, resolve the issues, divergences and tensions in a most amicable manner. So that is the thing, and I think just if we, in fact, hold the, in fact, SAC summit very soon, then we can discuss the issues, regional issues, and there should be the summit at the MIMSTEC level, so that we can also discuss the issues like the Rohingya and others. So in the regional forum, so at the
my gratitude for your attendance and my panelists. Thank you again. Yeah, thank you. Now I'm closing this seminar. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
See you again.
Thank you, Dr. Junaid and Sigdel.
Thank you
See
so
you
much for
again.